final score, Barnet 0, Wrexham 3. Wrexham's biggest ever win at Barnet and our fourth in a row there as well. We're unbeaten still in 5 games at their new ground, the Hive, and this was comprehensive. Wrexham started off in the 4-2-3-1 that served us so well in the replay against Marine, and made just one change, which was that Dan Jarvis, who had done well in that formation, but had obviously lacked a bit of match sharpness, was replaced by Bryce Hosanna. Not a big shock that, because Hosanna came on for him in that FA Cup match and looked very impressive. And the opening 20 minutes were scrappy, but with hindsight, you could see the seeds for what was to come. Because, well, firstly, Wrexham had clearly targeted Thomas, the Barnet right back, as a weak link. And from the kick-off, the opening seconds of the game, we're standing a diagonal on him and letting him stand underneath it while McAlinden challenges. That duel would be a key one throughout the game, and one which emphatically was won by McAlinden. Thomas must have been having nightmares afterwards about him. It was a fairly even start, but Wrexham get Barnet at arm's length, conceded a couple of free kicks that they put into the box from midfield, but they didn't really get near Wrexham's penalty area. It was quite blustery at the start, a bit difficult maybe to get the ball down, and what threat there was did come from Wrexham. First, ironically, from a Barnet corner, Dibble dealt with it well. McAlinden hit a big diagonal, Mullen burst forwards on the break, and then stood it up himself to Hosanna, who managed to isolate the last defender, Richards Everton, but couldn't get past him because the defender stood up well and made an excellent saving tackle. Within a minute, Wrexham were causing problems again. Hosanna doing well to work the ball back to Jordan Davis just outside the box. He pulled his shot a bit though, and it went wide of the right post. But Wrexham started to gain a foothold, started to control possession, and that's again one of the pleasing aspects of this change of formation. We seem to be much more capable of doing that. And we opened up on the 24th minute. Now, another of those early signs of problems for Barnet was that they were moving the ball around the back a lot. Payne, their holding midfielder, was constantly splitting their centre-backs, and they were trying to force the ball back out from the back like that, and it just was not working. They weren't moving the ball terribly quickly when needed. They weren't drawing players to them necessarily, so it wasn't really having the effect of dragging Wrexham up the pitch to create space they could play into. But the biggest problem was for them that Wrexham's press was excellent. It was really well organised, and clearly the trigger was the ball going out to the miserable Thomas at right back. So every time they play it to him, suddenly McAlinden would sprint in. That was the trigger. Other players would close in, and a number of times he got himself into trouble. I don't want to say, but they weren't innumerable, but there were a lot of them, and he wasn't the only one. Payne was often hurried on the edge of his box, to centre-backs as well, and that was how the goal came in the 24th minute. Taylor, the skipper, on the edge of his area after a short passing move, dwelled on the ball a bit too long. Mullen, who was utterly outstanding throughout, what a predator. Well, he spotted that tiny fragrance of blood in the water and pounced, tackled Taylor. He was one-on-one with the keeper, but he kept his cool and allowed Richard Everton to come across so he could cut inside him as well and improve his chances of finishing on his right foot. Once he'd done that, he just drilled it into the bottom left corner. The goalkeeper had no chance, and Wrexham had taken the lead. And that was the end of the game, frankly, as a contest, because from then on, well, Barnet just started wobbling and had 5 horrible minutes before Wrexham landed the second decisive punch. But they looked really troubled by going behind. Wrexham were delighted and started to pour forwards. There was a crazy incident a couple of minutes after the goal when a ball into the box led to a huge scramble. Lots of players drove in shots that were blocked. The fiercest one actually was by Tozer from outside the box. He really smashed it like a rocket. The defender managed to get a block in. Barnet were riding their luck, and then it ran out in the 29th minute. A throw-in on the right-hand side. All of a sudden, those throw-ins that didn't look so effective at the start are working beautifully. Tozer hurled it into the near post and got his second assist from a throw-in, as this time Aaron Hayden got it well, and with a nice powerful arcing header planted it beyond the keeper and inside the far post. His first goal for the club, and a lovely piece of work by him, although Barnet's defence would have to look at themselves and ask why they'd allowed him so much space. Wrexham continued to be in control for the rest of the half, and near the end of it, a flurry of opportunities came. One again from a Barnet corner. Dibble caught it really well and hit an early ball to Mullin. A 3-on-2 break, but Wrexham weren't able to make the most of it. Mullin, driving forwards, found Hosanna. He maybe carried a bit too far. In the end, had to lay it back to Tozer, who on the edge of the area smashed a shot. I've got to be honest, a long way wide from our commentary position, which is quite a peculiar one at Barnet, because you're in the second row of the stand. It looked quite close. Now I've seen the footage from the camera on the other side. It wasn't close at all. He was standing on the edge of the D. It was a decent chance. He was sort of facing halfway between the post and the flag. And when it arrived, he just didn't change his body shape and smashed it in the direction he was facing. It went a long way wide. However, Wrexham continued to push on. Davis did really well on the edge of the area, drawing 3 men to him. It looked like the obvious ball was out to Hosanna on the right, and then he suddenly pivoted, burst beyond those 3, and smashed a shot towards the bottom left corner with curl on it. And the young keeper, who, to be fair to him, did rather well compared to his more senior compatriots, Oxborough, lunged across and managed to push the ball away for a good save. But the danger wasn't gone yet. The corner was swept in to the far post. Mullin got up at close range and headed the ball against the post. The ball dropped into the goalmouth. Briscoe arrived, hoping to hit the net in his league debut, and thrashed at it from about 4 yards out. But the keeper was on the floor and basically just managed to get there and block it up in the air, and the ball span away to the edge of the 6-yard box, where it's headed behind for another corner. And that corner was swept in and caused some problems with a shot ricocheting around. Ball swung across the face of goal, French keeping it alive, and then Mullin hooking it back from the other direction, and French not quite being able to keep it alive again beyond the far post with his header. It was a bit daft. But it was, again, a sign that Barnet just weren't winning the first balls from set pieces. They're having terrible problems from restarts. And the half-time whistle went of Wrexham deservedly 2 ahead, and perhaps ought to have been more. Immediately from the restart, Wrexham were at it again. A long ball forwards to Angus on the halfway line. He headed it down intelligently to Mullin, who did brilliantly. He's very aware of what's going on around him. He's got clearly a picture in his head of what's behind him. He hooked a great ball across to Wright, who burst down the right-hand side, came central, and then from 20 yards pulled a shot just wide of the right post. 3 minutes later, another chance from similar range, and wow, this would have been a beauty if it had gone in. Tozer slinging in a throw into the near post. It was half cleared. McAlinden attacked it 25 yards out, took a touch, then controlled it on his thigh, and as it dropped, smashed a lovely volley which went just wide of the right post. He went close from similar range against Marine, and he must be really getting frustrated at the fact that that first Wrexham goal hasn't come yet. In the 50th minute, half chance of Barnet, which was really the first one. Dibbles had to make one save low to his right in the first half, but it wasn't hit with enough venom to really merit all that much of a mention. But this one was Widdowson on the left-hand side, swinging across in, which was nodded down for Marriott, about 8 yards out, but good defending again. Brisley getting across and getting the block in as Marriott hit the shot, and the ball span away, and then it was back to normal service. Wrexham ripping at Barnet, to the glee of the Wrexham fans, who behind the goal Wrexham were attacking now were just loving the way that Wrexham were able to break into space so easily. Record on the left-hand side managed to poke the ball into the box, and Mullin attacking it with a really alert awareness of what was on, got on the end of it and nailed a fabulous volley from 8 yards out. Unluckily for him, Thomas managed to get across and get a really good, Wilson, really good stretching block on it to put it behind for the corner. Marvellous effort by Mullin, great technique. If Widdowson hadn't got a touch to keep it, I'd have to make a good save to deny him. Wrexham weren't to be denied though, because from that corner, Davis slung a really nice ball in, and Brisley, unmarked 6 yards out, rose and did plant the ball home. This time he had got that goal on his league debut. Wrexham were 3-0 up, and that was about correct. The rest of the game, the final half hour, was such a bizarre spectacle. Barnet fell to pieces, to be perfectly frank. Wrexham tore them to pieces, and somehow we didn't score any more goals. And there was, I've got to be honest, a slight sense of disappointment in that, goodness me, I mean, we were a little bit wasteful, to be frank. We could have really racked up a hell of a score. Mullin bursting through the middle soon after Brisley's goal. Couldn't take advantage of an extra man in the box, but when his shot was blocked and span wide, he did very cleverly to back into Widdowson on the goal line, spin, and tried the cheekiest of little scooped shots from an impossible angle. Didn't quite get enough on it, and the keeper was able to backpedal and catch it under his bar, but another foot on it, and the keeper wouldn't have had a chance. Then Wrexham again coming forwards. Throw again from Tozer, slung into the goal mouth. Hayden getting it well 6 yards out and planting a header in. Unluckily for him, a defender jumped in front of him and managed to get a block on it, so it may well have gone into the net. And a minute later, another peculiar moment for Barnet's defence. A long ball forwards. And Richards Everton, who actually, to be fair, I thought defended pretty well apart from this, misjudged the bounce. Angus did ever so well to get it beyond him and was one-on-one with the keeper, driving down the right channel, and took a heavy touch as he entered the box, which allowed Oxborough to spread himself and get down and claim the ball rather easily. Angus ended up flat on his face, furious with himself and disappointed that he hadn't been able to take advantage of such a golden opportunity. Wrexham made a couple of substitutions. Ponticelli replacing Angus with 15 minutes left, and James Jones coming on for Jordan Davis 2 minutes later. Between those opportunities, there was an absolute sitter, though, I've got to say. Wrexham again with men over. At one point, it was a 3-on-1 break. Mullen, for once, didn't show the decisiveness and bloodless ruthlessness that we normally expect. He drove down the right channel, decided, at first I think he was going to go for himself, realised the angle was a bit too awkward and tried to square it. If he played it earlier, Ponticelli would have been completely clear on the keeper. As it was, when he tried to square it, the goalkeeper was able to stick a leg out and just nudge it behind Ponticelli. Ponticelli was unselfish, he could have had a pop, but instead he squared it to Hosanna, all on his own 8 yards out, a glorious chance, and he ballooned it horribly over the bar. What a chance that was. Then another moment soon afterwards, Ponticelli nearly going clear. He was terribly unlucky. A bit of again him competing with the centre back similarly to Angus, and he managed to nudge the ball past to go 1-on-1, but wasn't totally on balance, and as he tried to regain his balance to get to the ball, a superb recovering tackle by Widdowson saved himself. Moments later again Ponticelli was involved. Wrexham again getting men over on the break. A cross dug in from Mullen on the right hand side, and Ponticelli laying it off for Hosanna again. Hosanna hitting it from 7 yards out, but the goalkeeper was able to grab hold of it pretty much straight at him. A defender was in between, and rather than block the view, I think he more blocked Hosanna's view of the goal and made the finish more difficult. 5 minutes later, another chance for a goal, although this occasion it would have been quite strange when Ponticelli's cross was a bit too strong, but Thomas made a bit of a hash of it. Records came charging in and charged down his clearance, and from 6 yards out, ricocheted just wide of the left post. In the last minute, Wrexham brought Paul Mullen off, no doubt to give him a standing ovation, which he got, although he didn't look too happy because he's just always hungry for more goals. Jarvis came on to make his first league appearance of the season, and soon after that, Barnet had another pop at goal. Taylor, the captain, who'd been moved forward from centre-back into midfield, driving a 25-yarder wide of the left post. And in the third minute of added time, his opposing captain made a similar attempt from a similar range, about 25 yards out. Tozer picking the ball up. The crowd are shouting at him, telling him to shoot. He faked to do so and drove past his man and smashed a shot, which skimmed the bar as it went over. And soon afterwards was the final whistle, and the celebrations could begin. Fantastic performance by Wrexham. Pardon me. I mean, looking through the performances, Double had very little to do. Certainly nothing difficult, although I would point out there's he had a couple of corners into the crowd. He dealt with all of them well, either catching them or punching them, and he started a couple of breakaways by catching those corners and then releasing the ball quickly for Mullen to do mischief. Across the back, well, Hayden, apart from scoring the goal, was just immense. Every time the ball was in the air, he just won it. He was absolutely dominant. Superb performance by him. He was quick, he was strong. He sometimes looks like he might make a mistake. He certainly didn't in this game. Fantastic performance by him. Brisley again was rock solid alongside him. Two really impressive performances to start off his Wrexham career, apart from him getting a goal as well. The two full-backs, beg your pardon, they're not wing-backs anymore, are they? On the right-hand side, French, just like against Marine, very impressive. He was up against Ephraim Mason-Clark, who was maybe Barnet's best attacking player, really. And he handled him well. He stuck to him like glue. So when Mason Clark tried to drop deep to make the play, French was always with him, and he only got beaten, as I recall, once by him. It was a really good, solid performance, and again, he got up well to support the attacking play. Record on the other side also had a decent game. A couple of times players were able to get in behind him, but he had a solid game at left back, but a couple of decent balls in the box as well. In midfield, that double pivot was great again. Jordan Davis at first was trying again, maybe too many Hollywood balls, but having said that, he pinged some great balls in as well. And his general work rate and filling the gaps in midfield was terrific. He was combative but didn't get bucked, and was very, very impressive. And alongside him, Tozer, you could say pretty much the same thing. Like he drives forwards well. He had a couple of shots on goal. He was solid. He was strong. He picked up a silly yellow card near the end of the game when the game was dead, and he held onto a player's shirt for a long time in the Barnet half, deep in the Barnet half. It was Mason Clark, the fastest player. It was a chance to break, but we did have players behind the ball, and it was essentially level the edge of the area when Tozer grabbed hold of him, and he didn't need to really. So, shame really for a defensive player to pick up a yellow like that. Although, can we call him that anymore? Because the way he drives play forwards in his midfield role, he's certainly not a defensive midfielder. That second line, again, was impressive. I mean, Mullen, magnificent, playing off Angus, utterly superb. Really was. Created, finished, bursting past people, his awareness around himself. Wow, what can you say? Utterly, utterly superb. Bryce Susanna terrifies Barnet's defences with his pace, direct running. He was able to beat players easily. He got some decent balls into the box as well. Shame you missed that chance, but this was a heck of a good performance, and I suspect that might be the sort of area of the pitch that we'll be looking to use him in future. And on the other side, McAlinden again, terrific. I mean, honestly, really, as immediately after 2 games made that place his own, surely. His work rate is wonderful coming back to help the fullback. He absolutely tore poor Thomas to pieces. It was cruel. It was cruel. He was beating him at will, tackling him at will. The number of times Barnet were tackled in their own half is testament to that, like I said, lopsided press that we employed. It was testament to the work rate of the Wrexham players, but a lot of them were down to McAlinden. I've got to say, just bullying Thomas. And then up front, Angus, well, shame he missed that one-on-one, but really good mobility, really good awareness. He makes space for Mullen with his movement, and he looks dangerous himself, and hats off to him. I thought he did very well. The subs didn't have much time to impress, although I would say Ponticelli was able to set a few decent chances up and was very unselfish going forwards. He was very diligent. Jones slotted in solidly in midfield. He'll suit that formation too. A great performance by Wrexham, and well, you can't ask much more except please carry on. With a final score of Barnet 0, Wrexham 3, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.